You ever use a massive website like Wix and wonder how it feels so incredibly fast, serving millions of people at once? Well, it's not magic. It's some seriously impressive engineering. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Wix Cache, their custom-built solution to a problem that every big company eventually faces.
So let's start with a really basic question. When you click on a site and it just appears, what's happening there? What's the secret sauce? Well, in almost every case, that secret weapon is something called caching.
You can think of caching as the ultimate performance cheat code for the web. It's kind of like keeping your favorite tools right on your workbench instead of having to run to the garage every single time you need a screwdriver. By storing the data people ask for most often way closer to them, you get this massive boost in speed. It takes a huge load off your main databases, saves a ton of bandwidth, helps you survive huge traffic spikes, and yeah, it saves you a lot of money. It's a win-win-win.
But, for a company that's growing as fast and as big as Wix, just saying, let's use a cache wasn't cutting it anymore. As more and more teams built more and more services, their caching solutions started to get, a little chaotic.
And this is what that chaos looked like. It was a real mess. You had different teams using completely different tools for what they thought were unique needs. You had Kabashi over here, Guava Cache over there, Redis being used for something else. It was this fragmented, disconnected landscape. Trying to monitor performance was a total nightmare, and you had zero consistency across the company. So to tame all this complexity, the engineers at Wix decided they had to do something bold. They decided to build their own solution from the ground up, a single, unified platform designed to fix all of these problems at once. And that's when Wix Cache was born.
And the difference was like night and day. Instead of that messy patchwork of different tools, they suddenly had one system to rule them all. That meant they could monitor everything from one dashboard. They built in a super powerful second-level cache and made it so data was automatically replicated across all their data centers around the world. It standardized everything, even complex stuff like serialization, which is basically just how you package up data to send it over a network. And it even handled cache warm-ups for the developers automatically.
And this was their mission statement. This single sentence drove the whole project. The goal was never to just build another caching tool. It was to build the caching tool for the entire company, to create a genuine one-stop shop. That was their North Star.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do they actually pull it off? Let's get under the hood a little and look at the core pieces that make Wix Cache tick. So piece number one is something they call data store. The best way to think about this is like a really smart librarian for all their data. It's a service layer that sits on top of the database and gives the cache a really simple, clean way to ask for information. And the database that librarian is talking to is Amazon's DynamoDB. They picked this for a few really important reasons. 1, it's incredibly fast. 2, it's fully managed by Amazon, so Wix doesn't have to worry about the hardware. And 3, and this is the big one, it has cross-region replication built right in. For a global company like Wix, that feature is absolutely critical. All right, now let's put it all together and follow the journey of a single piece of data flowing through the system. Now this diagram might look a little complicated at first, but don't worry. It's actually a very logical path that's designed for one thing: pure speed. We're going to break it down step by step. Okay, here we go. So a request for data comes in. The very first place the system looks is in the local in-memory cache, right there on the server. This is the fast lane. If the data is there, what we call a cache hit, the response is almost instant. But what if it's not there? That's a cache miss. In that case, the system goes to level 2 and asks the data store to fetch it from the database. And then, once it gets that data back, 2 crucial things happen at the same time. It puts a copy in the local memory for next time, and it sends that copy out to all the other servers around the world so they're all in sync. But here's the thing. The Wix team knew that not all data is created equal. Some things need to be updated instantly, while other things can be a little older. So they built their system to be flexible, offering different configurations, or as they call them, flavors. This chart breaks down the 3 main flavors a developer at Wix can choose. So if you've got data that absolutely has to be fresh, like up to the second fresh, you'd use the CDC push strategy. It actually listens for changes in the database and pushes them out in real time. Now, if your data can be a little stale, maybe a few minutes old, you'd go with simple invalidation. It's way more efficient. And then there's this cool refresh strategy for a small set of really important data that they just proactively update in the background so a user never even experiences a cache miss. Let's just focus on that CDC push strategy for a second, because it's really the most powerful one. It works by essentially spying on the database's own activity log.
The instant a value changes in a database, an event gets fired off that tells every single server around the globe, hey, you need to update your local copy of this right now. It's an incredibly slick way to keep everything consistent.
And here's the real magic, at least from a developer's point of view. All of that incredible complexity we just talked about, the global replication, listening to database events, all of it gets boiled down to a single line of code. They abstracted everything away, making the platform not just incredibly powerful, but also incredibly easy for anyone to use.
So, what's the bottom line here? What did Wix really accomplish? Well, they successfully took a chaotic, fragmented system and replaced it with one elegant, unified platform that could scale to meet the needs of a massive global company.
So let's just recap the big architectural wins. They achieved near-zero latency for most data requests. They guaranteed that data would eventually be consistent across the entire globe. They built a system that is, for all practical purposes, infinitely scalable. And maybe most important of all, they made it so simple that their developers actually love using it. Those are huge, huge victories. And all of this leaves us with a much bigger, more fundamental question. Wix made a massive investment to build this thing from scratch. And what their story shows us is that once you reach a certain scale with very specific and complex problems, the power and control you get from building your own custom solution can be far more valuable than the convenience of just buying something off the shelf. It's a huge strategic decision that every major tech company has to face.